everybody. Welcome to the world's absolute greatest Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I'm your co-host, Mike Eld. As always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and for the last time, we are going to be talking about Spidey episodes of the 90s cartoon.
Yes, we're
said that all weird, but you get it.
Yeah, we're wrapping up our reviews of the 90s cartoon that was forced on me by Becca and Josh, but that's okay because I enjoyed rewatching it. Oh, by the way, Bex Luthor is here. Welcome back, Bex Luthor.
Woo, welcome back.
I missed the last cartoon episode and also the last episode.
Right.
Just, take care of your mental health, everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and fix
do.
it by watching episodes of Spidey, right?
Yeah, that's what did it.
This is what's been.
All right.
What made it worse for Becca,
that's
actually.
What we're here for, folks. Okay.
Beyonder really.
Yeah, the Beyonder
really messed with her.
solution to everyone's problems with a goatee. Also joining us this week, he's back. I believe you're a record-breaking host now. I think you've appeared more times than anyone else. Andrew Barry Helmer. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me again.
Woo! Absolutely.
It's always great to have
I just
you on.
wooed myself. What the hell's wrong with me?
It's just the power of the woo. You just have to woo.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta embrace it sometimes.
You do, yeah.
So I've lost track, but Andrew, have you reviewed cartoon episodes with us before?
I have. And the last ones we did, I don't remember which ones, but they were in the first season.
Okay.
And so they were still like on my continue watching Disney Plus thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember like the last one I watched, had like the first Craven episode or something like
Right.
that. And then to go into this was just, I was just
Like what?
I sent Mike a message. It was just like, what the hell is going on? I hadn't seen any of this since I was a kid, and I'm like, how did I follow any of this as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
It didn't matter because it was sick.
That's what it is.
Man, they really got all the action figures out for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Before we talk about these ones, Andrew, have you ever read the Secret Wars comic book?
I have not. I haven't read this Secret War. I read one of the latter, closer to the first Civil War. Yeah.
Okay, the 2015 one or whatever it was. Okay.
Nah, maybe early thousands. It had a lot of like. I think Bendis wrote it. They had a lot of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, and yeah.
I don't know what year that was, but the original Secret Wars. Just keep it that way. Don't ever read it. It's terrible.
This was better than the original Secret Wars.
I've heard that.
Yes, in a way. But let's just briefly for the listeners, like in 3 sentences. This is what Secret Wars was. The Beyonder transports a bunch of heroes and a bunch of villains to Battle World, and they fight for 12 issues. Is that it?
Also, don't
he
forget
gets the symbiote there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so much happens, but
so maybe I have.
So
maybe
little
I
at
have.
the same time.
The Wasp kissed Magneto and then called him a Nazi, even though he's definitely a Jew.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Thing decided to stay behind on the planet. So much happened.
The Lizard was there.
The Lizard was there.
He just kind of runs around on his own.
I think that's the one thing that carries over. I think the Lizard was a good guy, but I don't remember for sure.
The Lizard's also in this one.
Yeah, Titania.
The absolute first thing that I saw in this is I go from watching a simple episode of the first season right into Spider-Man and the Lizard driving around in some form of space truck.
Space SUV,
Yeah.
What? Actually,
God.
I'm gonna get this episode running in the background just so I can refresh my memory here. So yeah, right now we are talking about season 5, episode 11, Secret Wars Chapter 3, Doom.
That's right. Very simple to follow.
Yeah, so we've got Spider-Man, we've got
Everybody else,
Everyone.
literally
Just
watch it,
everybody
yeah.
else.
So we open. So Josh, are you gonna tell us what this one is sort of about? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
What kind of happened?
Basically, the whole Secret Wars thing is happening right now. The Beyonder in this one is like, again, kind of like testing to see whether what's going to win, good or evil. So he's grabbed Spider-Man and put him on this planet, and a bunch of supervillains had put him on this planet, and then he fast-forwarded the planet a year's time, so that way the villains had a chance to destroy this planet, which was a perfect utopia. And then after that, gave Spider-Man the reins and said, listen, you can bring in a bunch of heroes to help you out, and then you have to go here and try and save this planet. We're going to figure out who really is going to win, good or evil. So 2 episodes happen with all of that and them fight the heroes fighting the bad guys. And we're going to kind of pick up on this episode where they've defeated pretty much all of them except for Doctor Doom at this point. So this episode starts with, like Andrew was saying, Spider-Man and the Lizard driving around in their mid-sized sedan in the middle of the desert. And they're going to Doctor Doom's place because Doctor Doom took over Dr. Octopus's domain, and he's kind of created his own version of a utopia and has called it New Latveria. And
very clever.
very so funny. On their way there, they get attacked by these doom worm spider robot things, and their car gets destroyed. It's very, very sad. And then they come across the Fantastic Four just lying in the desert because they got defeated. And so they go up to the Fantastic Four and they ask them what happened. And they said that they got their ass beat and that the bad guys stole the thing. I don't know why I'm laughing so much. It's just so
I really like
ridiculous.
that when Spider-Man asks him what happens, the Human Torch explains what happens, but then he keeps going and explains how the Fantastic
By the
Four
way,
happened.
just in case you didn't
Yes,
know.
yes,
He's
yes.
like, what happened? And he's like, I assume you mean over the last 9 years, right?
I know you literally know my secret identity and everything, but yeah, it's so we also get a quick backstory about what happened with the Fantastic Four. Anyways, they go up to Doctor Doom's place and they just walk in, and as they're there, they're seeing that this place is like kind of back to normal. Before the bad guy showed up, it's back to this utopia. And then they go and they see Doctor Doom, and it turns out that the reason why he kidnapped the Thing was for 2 reasons. He wanted to know the information of like why they were there and how they even got onto the planet. And also Doctor Doom introduces and shows Ben this gun that he has that is supposed to rip apart atoms, is how it's kind of described in the show. So with this gun, he's able to separate the Thing and Ben Grimm. So now Ben can actually switch back and forth between being Ben Grimm and the Thing. So pretty cool. Ben is pretty happy about it. Mr. Fantastic, Reed, is very upset about this, and
Dick.
Yeah, as normal, and kind of starts this fight. And because he's disrespected Doom, they all get arrested and get thrown in jail. Also, the Lizard this whole time has been kind of like going back and forth between being good and evil. Like in the previous episode, or maybe even the one before that, they figure out that they bonked they bonked Kurt Connors on the head, so he's not evil now when he's in the Lizard form. So he's a good guy now, but for some reason he's been switching throughout this episode. And I thought maybe it would be because they could use the gun to separate the Lizard and Kirk. No, that's never brought up. It's just a thing that happens in this episode.
Just going through a rough time.
Right. So now that Doctor Doom has Ben Grimm's friends in prison, he kind of pretty much tells them that, like, I could set them free possibly, but you got to help me out if I'm going to help your friends out. Tell me what's going on here. So he convinces Ben to tell him what's going on. He knows about the Beyonder now. He knows about the secret base and the transport of in that secret base where everybody showed up. And they fly there. Right. They fly there. Or Dr. Doom flies there. Mm-hmm. And he goes through the portal to where the Beyonder is. And he uses his atom separating gun and he switches it from separate to combine.
That's
and he shoots the Beyonder, absorbing the Beyonder inside of him.
Just like that.
Yep.
Just like that. Just his powers, though, we never get, like, we don't see the two of them actually combine. It's just Dr. Doom now with the Beyonder's powers. So Dr. Doom now has these like crazy powers. He's able to transport everywhere. He can like levitate things with his mind. He can teleport people to him and away from him. Like everything the Beyonder can do, and now Dr. Doom can do, and he's practically a god. And Spider-Man warns him that just because he has the power of the gods doesn't mean that he's able to wield them. Because with great power comes great responsibility.
Which he actually said.
Which he actually does say. And, I don't know, yada, yada, yada. Things start going bad when Dr. Doom...
teleports them, and then he crushes them with a big rock.
Oh, yeah, he tries to crush them with a big rock or something.
Only after... Johnny Storm is like, we don't even know where Doom is. He could just drop a big rock on us. And then he immediately drops a big rock.
Drops a big rock, for sure, yeah. And then for no reason at all, they're back in the castle. Like nothing happened with the rock getting dropped on them. And
they punch it.
Sure, they do.
There's some voiceover where Spider-Man's like, we all have to punch it.
Right. So what's happening now is what Spider-Man said is coming true. Dr. Doom can't control this power, and in his sleep, his nightmares are manifesting. So there's a bunch of these like monsters, these like gargoyle-looking things popping out of Dr. Doom's brain, and Spider-Man punches him awake and says, look what's going on, you dum-dum. And Dr. Doom's like, I don't care, I can control this. And he like makes all the demons disappear. And he's got Spider-Man held up. And then Ben Grimm has to decide to betray Dr. Doom and shoot him with the... switch the thing back to separate atoms, shot him, Beyonder's back. And Beyonder just ends this whole test and sends Doom back and says... Guess what, Spider-Man? You and your friends did it. Sends his friends back, and he's like, that was just a test to see if you're actually good enough for the real deal. Tune in next episode, ladies and gentlemen. And
you thought Secret Wars was bad.
That all happens in 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Ish, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well,
it happens so fast. And like, and everybody is going to forget everything that happened. By the way, everything is reset.
I absolutely love that. They're like, you know, all this just happened. Nothing.
It is
and then Storm gives like this fucking like speech even after she finds out that they're gonna lose their memories. Storm is like, "What's great is that we all learned who we are," and you're like, "Yeah, but you're gonna forget. You're not gonna know."
You know,
and on top of that too, like they've set it up where. This version of Secret Wars is called Secret Wars. That way, because Spider-Man is recording all of this. So that way, even if they die, they won't be Secret Wars because his messages will still be on the tapes long after he's gone. So. The fact that it ended up still being... Yeah, the fact that it still ended up being a secret war because nobody's going to know about it kind of defeats the purpose of, like, changing the whole reason why. Because it's not like the recording was even, like, important to the story.
Right,
right. Well, no, there's several scenes of him just talking next to people into his recorder. Like he's like walking with Captain America, and he's like Secret War Journal number 8.
Captain America is stealing my girlfriend again.
Yeah. The thing is the premise of Secret Wars is shit to begin with. Like, because so Andrew, have you ever read Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it has a good premise.
Yes.
It has a purpose. Let's bring
Secret War is a lot dumber. You are correct.
Like let's show all of the multiverses and then destroy them and create a new one. But at least you kind of get to know all the most obscure corners of the DC universe while you're reading the story, whether you like it or not. In Secret Wars, it's let's take everyone out of their natural environment, put them on an alien world, and just have them fight. Okay, now that premise is bad, but at the very least, you go, okay, I get it. You're going to take all these characters and have them, like, maybe you're going to learn about who's, like the allegiances and, like, double-crossing or something. But the fact that in this cartoon, because as we were talking about it, I was rewatching it, like, you bring in these, what were those creatures that they were fighting? Like,
those are they're sleep gargoyles.
yeah, like, why have those? Why have Madam Web? Why have... I don't know, it just seems like you're not even doing the premise right. Like, I know, Josh, that you think this is better than the comic, but I don't think it necessarily is. It's kind of worse in a way, you know?
The comic didn't have sandworms, so
Yeah. I'm not saying this is good.
I buy the idea of it being a test for Spider-Man because this is kind of like going into the next episode, but we find out that this whole thing has been going on in multiple universes to test every single universe's version of Spider-Man to see who is going to be the leader of all the Spider-Man to save all of reality, right? I can buy that the Beyonder is going to a bunch of universes to test every single Spider-Man more than I can the Beyonder going, like, I want to play with my action figures and then have, like, this, like, crazy, ridiculous story. They're both bad, but I don't know. I think I found this one just a little bit better. It's also shorter to watch all of these than to read Secret Wars.
One of my only experiences with the Beyonder is on this podcast, and it was when he decided to bet the fate of the universe against
football.
Spider-Man playing football with his
Right.
Wait, no, that wasn't the Beyonder, was it? Wasn't that...
It was. Well, no, somebody
it was...
stole the Beyonder's powers.
Okay, I think it was the Watcher and someone else.
Oh, God.
It wasn't the Beyonder, it was a
It
different
wasn't?
guy.
Oh, God.
No.
Really?
But it was the same idea, but it was not the Beyonder.
I thought it was that lizard man stole the Beyonder's powers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the Beyonder, though.
Okay, I'm going to Google it as we talk.
I think it was.
Spider-Man plays football.
Oh, God, I think
There
you're right.
can't be
I think
many
it was.
comics about
It was the Watcher. You're right.
Yeah,
it was the Watcher.
Oh, look at this. ScreenRant.com did an article called Spider-Man's Football Skills Save the Marvel Universe. But, oh, crap. I have to disable my ad blocker? Too difficult. I'm not going to read it.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say Screen Rant did an article about the podcast we did about that.
No, not even close.
Whoa!
What? Okay,
Anyway, it was because a Skrull it was a Skrull.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I knew it was a green alien.
Yeah.
But really quick, Becca, I know that you said that you wanted
said a lot of things.
Kill Jim Shooter in his sleep or something because you
I would never say that.
Okay, that was my words. Those were my
Yeah,
words.
I would never threaten a man's life because he wrote a bad thing. I just think he shouldn't be allowed to write things ever again.
Okay.
It's different. He's allowed to live. I did not talk to him at Forest City Comic Con, specifically because I said bad things about him on the internet, and I didn't think that would be kind of me to come up and... I really wanted to get my picture with him, but I was like, I can't. I said so many rude things about this man. That's not cool of me. So I just from afar.
It'd be like if Poirier ever met Michael Bay.
True. I've done
Oh
worse
my
where
God.
like I've shit talked people and I've seen them and I totally am phony. Totally. Two-Faced, this is me. Two-Faced right here. Nice to comic book artists in person. Shit talk them on the internet. That's me. Anyway.
Here's the thing: you can be a decent person and a shitty writer who ruined Marvel Comics for a bit. And that's my opinion because that's what art is. Anyway, this is way better than that
Okay.
because it is 22 minutes. It was
got that
3
theme song.
episodes. This whole arc is 3 episodes, 22 minutes. Half of that is just a recap of the previous episode.
Right.
Also, like, one X-Men instead of all of the X-Men. That's pretty funny.
Yep.
Black Cat's there.
Captain America's there. I don't recall him saying anything.
He is there. In the previous
Yeah, I don't
episode,
think he did actually.
he has like a crush on Black Cat. So,
Nice.
and then Black Cat kisses Spider-Man.
Mhm.
So he probably doesn't have anything to say because in the animated Spider-Man series, Captain America isn't really relevant. He's been like missing for
Yeah, for like
decades?
80 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw maybe the previously on or something.
Peter meets him once. He's like the greatest hero. I'll bring him along to help me, even though like he has just the choices of characters, whatever.
I mean,
But this last episode, this finale, wonderful.
Oh, by the way, to piggyback on what you're talking about, Becca, you know that story where Spider-Man played football to save the universe?
Yeah.
Guess who wrote it?
Oh, shockingly, who was it?
Jim Shooter.
Yeah, my dude. Oh, I want to buy
believe
it and
it?
get him to sign it.
Anyway.
it is a magnificent comic. I would read that again in an instant.
It's definitely funny that it exists, but not funny, haha. Funny, I had to read this for my friend's podcast and now I feel bad. But yeah, Dr. Doom makes himself handsome, though. Don't forget that. He makes
Which-
himself...
Right, he does.
handsome.
So
was-
he said, but I was like, I don't know. I've seen handsomer cartoons.
Yeah.
But, like-
It's kind of like Beast at the end of Beauty and the Beast. You're like, that's it?
Yeah,
Really?
exactly. Right,
It was
right.
better before.
Yeah. Where's your cheekbones?
But I love that he's like, and I made myself handsome. And Sue's like, he used to be so fucking ugly and gross. I was like, Sue! Don't be rude.
They are all so mean to Doctor Doom in this, and coming from 2022, you're like, his little society looked okay. I mean, he wasn't.
Really...
Yeah, it's a lot of playgrounds,
A lot of baseball.
a lot of
Doom
baseball.
loves baseball.
Yeah.
I think, like, if they never told him about the Beyonder's powers, it probably would have been fine.
It's true. Yeah, Latveria's number 3 sport is baseball. So
By the way, I think the Doctor Doom thing was in the comic too, right? Wasn't it? When he gets fixed, his face gets fixed.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And the
I think
thing
at some
changing
point.
back
Yeah.
at will was in the comic, which was good. At least they brought that in. I don't know.
Yeah.
now,
Venom
was this the? I only realized it because of Disney Plus that there was a mid '90s Fantastic Four animated series, which I never saw. Is
Yes.
this them?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
They're
had their
all
own
connected.
Yeah.
Same with the X-Men.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You recognize that great Storm design there.
Mm.
Iron
you-
Man 2, there's an Iron Man cartoon.
Yeah.
I think X-Men was on a different network, and I think it was Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and Iron Man, and maybe even Silver Surfer were all like one network or studio or something.
hmm
But yeah. But
It's so
cool
weird
they
that I
could tie
never
them
saw.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Fantastic Four one is not as funny as the Spider-Man
I
one.
also think it's only one season, if I'm remembering correctly.
weren't as
Like, I think it
successful, yeah.
was a quick. Yeah.
And then the Iron Man one is like Iron Man and his whatever friends or something, right? Because like Spider-Woman's there and shit.
Oh, really? Okay, it's 2 seasons.
Because I remember people out there that Iron Man, for so much of his career, was just considered to be like the worst.
A B
Like-
total B or C list.
Like
yes.
nobody wanted anything to do with Iron Man. Like those film rights were passed around. Like nobody wanted them. Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And-
looks like War Machine, Hawkeye's in it, Scarlet Witch was in it. Yeah, Julia Carpenter.
Wait a minute. There was also an Incredible
Wow.
Hulk cartoon. We never talk about that.
In the 70s or 80s, it is awesome because it is okay. I think there's multiple ones, but there's one I've seen that came out around the time of the 60s Spider-Man, and it is not even fully animated. Like it is like it is like picture. It's like a moving picture book, basically.
Well, because Spider-Man was one studio, and then Fantastic Four, I think Submariner, Thor, whatever the other ones. You're right. They would take comic panels and just like take one arm and just move the arm, or take the face, but everything else would be still. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it even happens in this. It even happens in these cartoons a bit. Like I noticed it when Johnny Storm is talking. It's just like a picture of him. And it's just his mouth, like, going like this. Like, you don't even see his jaw moving. It's just, like, still image and then mouth flat.
They really phoned in their Johnny Storm on this. Like, it's like they were like, does anybody know how to draw fire? And, like, everybody looked around and they're like, I don't, actually.
It's hard to do. Yeah. Even when they're, like, all walking to Doom's castle, they're all, like, stepping at the exact same time, like they're marching, like their legs are moving at the exact same speed and everything. When Johnny's floating, it's just like one image of him and they're just like moving it forward.
But wait, Josh, have you seen the cartoons that we're talking about? Because you don't understand how.
Oh yeah. No,
it's very Speed Racer-esque.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so,
don't. And also remember, Josh and I were children of the 90s, so we watched a lot of anime and a lot of bad anime.
Right.
There was a lot of good anime, and a lot of beautiful anime, and a lot of just a person standing there with their mouth being animated to move.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, and like my dad showed me a lot of like cartoons that he would watch growing up. So like I watched G.I. Joe and Transformers and Mask and all that stuff. So I'm also a big fan of that. So, yeah, Mask. I love Mask.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had those toys.
I love them.
T-Bob was my favorite.
You know,
I'm sure he's like a universally hated character. I'm sure, but as a kid, he was the best.
When Kurt Swan, after he drew Superman for 30 years, and then he was basically removed from Superman to make room for John Byrne, he was promised like a major DC assignment like Teen Titans, but instead they made him draw Mask.
Oh, interesting. That was done in Canada.
This is me learning Mask is a DC property.
Yep.
Yeah, and the cartoon was made in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
It was pretty good, wasn't it? I remember liking it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I worked for that studio. When I found out that they had it in their catalog, I freaked out.
That's so
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I bugged them every year to do a reboot.
2 episodes left, guys.
Yeah, we should. That's right. We're still recording.
I'm like already reading up on the Marvel Action Hour, which is definitely my introduction to comic books. Was that syndication of TV shows in between 94 and 96, which was just Fantastic Four. Let's see what it was. It had the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, this Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man, so Spider-Man Unlimited, Silver Surfer. Spider-Man Unlimited is a good.
I'm reading
show.
that too. Yep.
No.
What it was? Avengers, Bikers Mike's from Mars, and then also the 96 Incredible Hulk animated series. Which
It is
forgot.
incredible that I missed some of these.
Dude, I watched all of these.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched the Avengers one, Unlimited? But...
Yeah, Spider-Man Unlimited,
That would be so fun.
Never saw it.
What? Oh, so Spider-Man Unlimited is the direct sequel to this show.
Really?
Yeah. Same voice cast.
Come on.
But it basically just picks up from the end of, like... He's just still lost... He's jumping dimension to dimension, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
This is the one where, like, I'm pretty sure Miguel. Yeah.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
All right.
Well, anyway, okay. We still
Secret Wars stinks no matter what universe.
Yeah. So
it's like the. I hate it in every single universe.
Yeah, we don't even do recommendations anymore. We kind of stopped doing that. Let's just jump to the next episode.
Dude, watch the whole series. It's a fucking trip.
Speaking of shitty stories, now we're gonna do the
Great
adaptation of the Clone
dare
Saga.
you.
Great title, though.
Yeah.
Great title.
Dude, this is the best ending for a TV show of all time. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Becca, since you love this one so much, why don't you tell the listeners what this one's about?
This is the one where we learn why Madam Web and the Beyonder were doing what they were doing at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, why? Why all of it? So Spider-Man goes to this other universe, and it turns out that it's like completely like demolished and like everything's crazy, like destroyed. And he's like, "Oh no, Aunt May!" And he looks over, and all the buildings are destroyed. He sees the Hobgoblin and the Green Goblin working together finally. And they're like destroying stuff, so he follows them. They go to the Daily Bugle, where the only survivors seem to be Jay Jonah and Robbie Robertson, and they're doing like a podcast as a radio show outside of their a radio show, not a podcast,
with the most powerful like satellite dish in the world.
Yes, it can transcend dimensions. The satellite dish.
I also just love the image of the two of them still recording in the same building on like, you know, the top floor, and everything is destroyed around them. They're still recording.
Like, guys, go to the basement. So, and then they say where they're recording from. So obviously the Green Goblin and the Hobgoblin go that way. They're like, finally, the last clue.
Man. They're like, it's in that one building that isn't destroyed all the way.
If only we could figure out where...
No, I'm pretty sure Jay Jonah is like recording live from what's left of the Daily Bugle. So then Spider-Man follows the Green Goblin and the Hobgoblin, and for some strange reason, they're not happy to see Spider-Man. They're like, "It's all your fault." Spider-Man's like, "What's my fault? Crazy, I don't understand what's going on." And it turns out that the whole like Beyonder test thing was so to see if Spider-Man was able to lead a team of multiple Spider-Mans from all over the universe to defeat the Spider-Man of this universe, who is attached to the Carnage symbiote, so it's Spider Carnage. Spider Carnage has destroyed all of New York and is going to destroy all of the world and all of the universes because he really, really hates clones. Even though he might be the clone. Which we never find out if he is or not.
No, we all might be the clone as far as this episode is concerned.
So we have a team of Spider-Men from multiple different universes in this like pocket dimension where the Beyonder and Madam Web are telling them the whole story. You have Ben Reilly, this is his home dimension. He doesn't remember if he's a clone of... He's blonde, but looks exactly like Peter Parker. But he doesn't remember if he's a clone. This is like the Clone Saga, but like in 40 minutes. He doesn't remember if he's the clone or the original, but the other Peter Parker is either the original or the clone because Miles Warren was doing what he does best, making clones of people. And it turns out that this Spider-Man hates clones because who did they kill? I don't remember. Is it Mary Jane in this one?
Uncle Ben and Aunt May.
Right, everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Oh, right, because I was confused too, because then our Spider-Man flashes back to what happened to his Mary Jane.
Yes.
In the middle of the other guy talking about it, and I was like, wait, what?
There's a flashback in the flashback, but it's two people's different flashbacks.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So Ben Reilly's trying to tell us what's going on in this universe, and then we flash back, and Peter's like, remember when Mary Jane was a clone the whole time and turned into water? And the other Spider-Man are like, no, don't remember that.
That didn't happen to my Mary Jane.
So we've got our Peter Parker, we've got Ben Reilly, we've got a six-armed Peter Parker who never recovered from being mutated, that our Peter Parker did in an earlier episode. We have like an Iron Man-style Peter Parker who's a tech billionaire and a piece of shit, and we find out why in the next episode. And then we also have a Peter Parker who has no powers.
It's a great reveal, though. It's a great
Peter Parker
reveal.
maybe honestly one of the best things in the episode. Honestly, yeah.
Because I remember being like the whole time being like, "The fuck is going on?" And then right as the reveal is about to happen, I remembered it, and I was like, "Oh right."
And then I think there's a Peter Parker who defeated Doc Ock and took his arms.
Yeah.
So these Peter Parkers are going to be led by our Peter Parker, because our Peter Parker was the only one who passed the test from the Beyonder, I guess. I guess the other guys came close. I would love to see the Beyonders test for the non-powered Peter Parker.
Good point. Yeah.
Actor Peter Parker. But yeah, so then we flash back to Secret Wars quickly to showcase what happened then and to show all of Peter Parker's most heroic leadership moments of that. And Meadowweb keeps telling rich Spider-Man to shut the fuck up and just listen to the regular Spider-Man. So they go out and they're gonna go try to defeat Spider Carnage because he's taken the satellite dish of the top of the Daily Bugle and used it to attach to his machine so that he can kill all the other universes, clones, Spider-Mans, the rest of it, all of it. But this Spider Carnage has gotten the help of Wilson Fisk and
Alistair Smythe,
right? And the two goblins. And obviously he's told them lies. He's like, "Don't worry, we'll take over the world." And then
we're
like,
good. We're fine. This will all help your profits, Kingpin.
I promise, yeah. So then a fight ensues, and then what happens? Oh, they're fighting, and then they leave they leave powerless Spider-Man behind. They also, the rich Spider-Man ends up being too arrogant and gets almost killed, so Beyonder brings him back to the pocket dimension. And then the episode ends with Six-Armed Spider-Man turning into Man-Spider and attacking them. I think I got everything.
You get a nice, great reprise of Spider-Man just shouting out, "Oh no, my mutation!"
Oh no, my bonitis!
Do we want to just like recap the next episode and talk about this as like one big story, or what are we thinking?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will attempt to summarize the next episode.
Go for it.
Let's see here. Hold on. Gotta wait for this to load because God knows I don't remember what happened.
Farewell, Spider-Man!
With them going back to the pocket dimension, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Beyonder's like, "Okay, don't worry, I'll take care of Man-Spider," and takes him away to give them all a chance to fight off Spider Carnage.
We'll talk about it later, but there's so many things that irk me about this episode. But anyway,
Sure.
So again, even though I just watched this today, we open up with, I'm just going to call them by how I know them, Spider-Man and Ben Reilly fighting the Man-Spider, right?
Yeah.
Then the Man-Spider gets defeated, I think.
The Beyonder's like, I can't do much more. I'm gonna take Man-Spider and I'm gonna send the powerless Spider-Man, and after that my powers are gonna be so weak I'm gonna be sent back to our dimension.
Right.
So it's like the last thing he did, he pretty much sacrificed himself to.
This is the Beyonder who was able to manipulate time and space on Battleworld.
But that was his dimension. When he's in a different dimension,
yes, you're right.
Their powers are weak.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Right? Okay. And then, oh my God, I just watched this like 5 hours ago. How do I not remember anything?
I think all of us, we can get through this. We can get through this.
So then Kingpin shows up, right? Who's Peter Parker's lawyer.
You're missing a whole.
This is no. Yeah, hold on. Before we get there, okay, because we're still in this like second dimension. Yeah. So the Kingpin finally, So Kingpin finally realizes that Venom is actually going to destroy everything. Once he says, "I'm going to destroy everything," and there's nothing you could stop me. So Kingpin's like, "Oh, it sounds like maybe this is a bad thing."
He's like, "I'm part of everything."
Yeah. So he ends up helping the three Spider-Men that are left there, and before they can like fully defeat him, Carnage actually takes the device that opens up the portal and opens up a portal for himself and jumps through. So they were successfully able to like hold off on ending the world, but unfortunately he's just jumped to another dimension and he's gonna do it there now. So everybody goes back to Madame Web's house, and she's like, Beyonder's dead, guys, and I only have enough power to send one person over there. So our Spider-Man that we've been following this entire time says, I'm the leader. I'm going to go and do this. So he gets sent to the next dimension, and it turns out that this dimension that Spider-Venom has jumped to is the Tony Stark-esque Spider-Man, like the one with the Iron Man suit. Mm-hmm. And in this dimension, he's rich and famous. Everybody knows his identity, so he's both known as Spider-Man and Peter to the public. He's engaged to Gwen Stacy, which is the first time we're ever seeing her in the TV show. So it's pretty cool, especially since we're kind of being introduced to the whole clone thing. So, and there's this big party going on, and Peter is trying to balance being Peter Parker and Spider-Man and fitting into this universe, and also trying to find out where Spider-Venom has gone and stop him. So MJ is there and shows up, and Peter can't help himself but to
dumb.
Even though he knows he's in another dimension, he's like, I love you.
Yeah.
You don't know me. Come on. Even though he just met this version's fiance, and of
he
course
knows he's in another dimension.
Yeah.
And then he's like starts manhandling her, and like Anime Watson walks in and is like, oh, it's fine. He's rich.
Yeah. So Gwen Stacy catches him, so he gets in trouble a little bit, and then all of his friends and everybody we know throughout the show show up, and they're like, come on, we got to go down to the party. He's like, okay, just give me a second. And then Kingpin shows up, and he's like, oh shit, I'm going to have to fight this guy. And it turns out that he's actually friends with a Kingpin in this universe. So so Kingpin's like, listen, I need to talk to Peter alone for a few minutes. I'm his lawyer. We're going to go talk business. You just need to sign a few things. So they go into his office. He sits down in his chair. Boom. He gets double crossed immediately. Just immediately. It's amazing. So he gets tied to this chair, and he's like, I've been talking to Spider-Venom, and he's actually got some really great points, and I'm actually teaming up with him now. So it's like the same thing that happened before. Kingpin isn't believing that Spider-Venom is evil.
Spider-Carnage.
Sorry, thank you, Spider-Carnage.
Spider-Carnage is very convincing to people.
Apparently.
We never see it because he's always like cackling, but apparently he's just, he's giving TED Talks. He's got PowerPoint presentations.
Right. So Kingpin and Spider-Carnage decide to leave Spider-Man tied up instead of killing him, and they go down to the party to do whatever they're going to do. So Spider-Carnage is still going to make a speech instead of just ending the universes. Whatever. And Stacy shows up to free him, unties him from the chair or whatever, and then our Spider-Man stops Spider-Carnage mid-speech, and then that's when Kingpin once again finds out that Spider-Carnage is actually evil. Anyways, he ends up chasing him down to the rooftop of the Daily Bugle, where once again he's got this thing set up to the big satellite. The portal opens up again, and Spider-Man realizes that he's got to defeat this guy in his own way. How is he going to do that? How is he different from any of the other Spider-Men that have been in the show? And
I love this part. This is my favorite.
What he does is he actually goes and finds Uncle Ben, who is still alive in this universe, and introduces him to Spider-Carnage, and this is kind of what defeats him and pulls Peter Parker out of the Carnage symbiote. So Uncle Ben is actually able to save the day at the end, and the Peter Parker that is part of the Spider-Carnage symbiote sacrifices himself and destroys the portal right before jumping through, and is like lost to time or whatever. And then everything goes back to normal. And then we have this little epilogue where before everybody goes back to their own universe, the Spider-Man without powers reveals that he's actually an actor who gets to play Spider-Man in movies. And it was kind of a mistake that he was there in the first place. But since he's in a universe where Spider-Man is actually real, he actually wants to bring Spider-Man to his universe and introduce him to the person who created Spider-Man in his universe. And it's revealed to be Stan Lee, of course. So we see Spider-Man with Stan Lee swinging through New York and kind of talking about their adventures or whatever. And they have this like fun little moment together on a rooftop before Spider-Man is swept away by Madam Web, and we learn that they're off on another adventure to go find MJ as the series ends.
And that's the unceremonious end of the series.
Yeah.
So let's
Then
back.
they got canceled.
Yeah. Okay, let's back.
And
up.
as a child, I waited and waited.
Oh no.
And waited.
Well, apparently they were supposed to follow it up with Spider-Man Unlimited, but they didn't, right? As I was skim reading the Wikipedia article, that was originally the plan for that, but they just didn't do it.
They
Or maybe
never
Marvel
got
didn't
there.
like it. But so let's first back up and say I stopped reading Spider-Man around 93. So as far as the Clone Saga, I might have read 1 or 2 issues. Maybe, but what I read I did not like. Andrew, did you ever read the Clone Saga?
No, I did
Okay.
not. I watched the shit out of this animated series as a kid, though. So.
Okay.
Did you not somehow?
Read the Clone Saga? Or
No,
watch
did you
the
somehow
series?
not? Yeah.
Oh no! I started watching Batman and X-Men the day they came out, and Spider-Man followed soon after. But I just didn't watch Spider-Man as much. Like Batman, I watched every episode. Spider-Man was sporadic, but I always thought Spider-Man was good. I wasn't as devoted to it. I definitely didn't see these episodes for sure.
Oh, I definitely. Yeah, this was a big. He's not gonna find MJ.
Yeah. Well, but as far as the Clone Saga, Josh, I know you've read some of the Clone Saga. Right?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I actually just started going back and finding all of the issues so I can reread them. So, yeah, and I remember
Good luck
loving
with
it
that.
as a kid.
Really?
I remember loving it. Well, I was a kid when Clone Saga was going on, so of course
Right.
it's the same as like I love the prequels, but it's because I was 5 years old when the prequels
Right,
started. You know what I mean?
I still
it's
love
like
the
perfect.
prequels, so
Me too. I love the prequels. So
I grew to
for
love
what
them.
they are.
yeah,
I will never say love, but I will say I can watch them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, I've been wanting to go back and reread them because I loved them growing up. So
Becca.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to. Before we, have you read the Clone Saga?
I have as a kid. I
Really?
think I reread them as maybe a middle school young teenager, but I have not read them as an adult because I am scared of tainting memories. Like most of the things I enjoyed as a child, I'm scared to reintroduce myself to them. I do remember really, really liking it. I do also still love Ben Reilly. So
Yeah, same.
and modern Ben Reilly is one of my favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah, I really dig Ben Reilly in general. So I feel like they're doing him in the next Spider-Verse movie, so that should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be there. Miguel's gonna be there. They're all gonna be there.
They're all gonna be there.
Well,
I love, and then this was the first time they did a Spider-Verse thing in
Yeah,
this animated series.
Definitely.
This
It's
is the
very-
introduction
it-
of the Spider-Verse.
it
Yeah.
is very refreshing to see. Like, okay, we're able to write this stuff a little bit better now. Like, there's a little bit more
Yeah.
balance to it. It's not perfect,
well,
not perfect, but
so, like
it
this,
doesn't make me want to tear my hair.
like yeah, but this cartoon came out almost in the middle of the Clone Saga, right? Like maybe right when it was wrapping up. So
Right.
it was
Yeah.
it was in recent memory. Now, again, without having read the Clone Saga, I have a feeling this is drastically different from the comic book
Little bit.
version. Am I right? Okay.
I mean, Ben Reilly is also there,
Right, that's what I mean. Like the whole
and
point.
he is a clone, maybe.
That's what I mean. The whole point of the Clone Saga is, hey, there's a clone of Peter Parker, and this is actually the real Peter Parker, and then it goes from there. This is something totally different, right? this is more like Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
A long production,
Right.
the long ass production time on this show would have, like they would have had basic notes of what was going to be happening.
Right.
And then, because like the production time on these, you're looking at a year.
Right.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, because there's no Jackal, there's no Kane, there's no
They mentioned
other
Miles Warren.
clones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they mention him, but he's not the Jackal. He's just the clone
Right.
guy. He's Miles Warren. He just makes clones. There's no Warren Miles. Clone of Miles Warren.
So yeah, like the whole
Really?
premise is different. Like
Yes, really.
like the original premise was bring back Spider-Man's clone and then reveal he's actually the real one, and then confusion ensues. Whatever, whether it was good or bad, at least it was a good premise. But this is something different.
Yeah.
I mean,
I-
okay, go ahead.
I've read
Anthony.
the Ultimate Clone Saga.
Is it similar?
No, it is not.
Okay.
No, it is not. Vaguely gets into Carnage and whatnot.
Oh.
Okay, I'm just gonna start by saying this whole idea of like Spider Carnage and what's the other one? Spider. Who else? Who are the other characters in this episode?
Man Spider?
Maybe he's okay, but Spider Carnage.
Iron Spider.
Every time they said it, I cringed.
Oh, dude, I remember being so scared of him as a kid. I remember it being the scariest bad guy because he was Spider-Man and also Carnage.
And he's kind of unhinged in a way that, like, the villains usually weren't on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's essentially trying to commit, like, mass murder and suicide.
Yeah, I don't think there's really been any other villain that's been for this. Even Red Skull, the Nazi, wasn't this evil in the show. So
I do love, at one point, like, Kingpin. It's just, like, he's talking to Smythe about Spider Carnage, and he's just like, he's got some really good ideas, but we gotta watch this guy because he is the most evil person I've ever met.
Yeah. Yeah, he literally says that. Yeah.
So like,
great.
I'll say that I really like the idea of introducing Gwen in the last episode. You introduced Gwen. That was so cool. And then bringing back Ben Parker. That's cool, right? Like if you're gonna do a multiverse.
One of the best parts of this series is when Peter realizes the reason why Iron Spider-Man has had no bad times in his life and is not sad and is arrogant and is not humbled is because, obviously this is the universe where Uncle Ben must still be alive.
Right.
Yeah.
That is good
And then
writing,
going to get him, it just...
It's a really good
the
scene.
rest of it,
Yeah.
it's a really good scene in a really fucking crazy-ass animated show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And watching Spider Carnage kind of break down when he sees Uncle Ben is fucking... That's the stuff that childhood memories are made of, man.
And as painful as the whole Secret Wars thing was, it kind of makes the point of that make sense by the end. You know what I mean? Like we had to deal with those shitty 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But I think it made that payoff way better to kind of prove that Peter had to prove himself as a hero and who he was as a person and how he handled these types of situations. Because if it weren't that way, and if it was a different Spider-Man, then the universe probably would have ended. It's how how Peter Parker chose to deal with it that saved
And he
it, so.
jumps right into it as soon as he knows what's going on.
Right.
Has a little bit of a misstep, but he's like, every Mary Jane is the same Mary Jane.
Right. Sure.
I mean, he did just come off of realizing that his wife has been a clone this whole time. He does not know where the real Mary Jane is, and he did just watch his wife clone die. So he's a little emotionally distraught.
Oh man.
It's true. It's true. And also it's only 2 episodes. It's not like, it's not like the Neogenic Nightmare, which has 19 chapters.
It is wild that this one only has 2, but it is because they got canceled. Like, they were supposed to...
Oh, yeah. This
go
was
off
not
and,
done.
Yeah, Madam Web was going to take Peter to find Mary Jane in, the Victorian era. It was, read up on it. It is fucking wild what they were going to do.
That's cool.
They were gonna gargoyles it and, have
I think they were going to gargoyles it.
Oh man.
I'll have to find like an
Gargoyles.
article that talks exactly about like what was gonna.
Yeah. So I really like the premise with these two episodes, but I think it's like a little convoluted at times, and like it feels like the story just kind of like piles on.
Right.
There's a really good story in there. I really do believe it, but it's just like kind of a shitty way to tell it. I think even having them jump from universe to universe, they could have just had it in one place, and it could have worked. Like,
right.
All of the other Spider-Man keep getting knocked off like one by one,
Right.
and then
so easily,
and then you just have Peter figure out on his own how he's got to deal with the situation, and he finds Uncle Ben, and then that's the end. Like, they could have taken away some of that like extra stuff in the episode, and then really fleshed out like an interesting story.
Yeah, the Spider-Verse stuff they could have easily filled a few more episodes with too. Like, especially if you're going to cram it full of this many characters. Like, you could have had some time on some of them, you know? We didn't really... I mean, I think it's interesting is they take a pretty interesting writing shortcut from... when you have, like, the Mutant Spider-Man. I think it's kind of cool because the implication, I think, is just... they've grabbed him out of an almost identical time as our Peter. He's just in the middle of his mutation shit. So they yanked him out of that timeline in the middle of his mutation stuff. So we know what's going on with him, you know. But yeah, we don't really...
Yeah.
We don't know shit about Dr. Octopus Spider-Man, so throw him out. We don't need him there.
Well, okay, now besides that, we should also talk about the Stan Lee cameo, which was really cool, but it would have been nice if they would have mentioned Steve Ditko,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah,
he was
it would have
still
been.
alive.
He's always been super like quiet though and secretive. Like he's
Oh,
not
yeah,
very
very.
like he's not
And-
very Stan
and
Lee,
this-
where Stan
this
Lee's like a
Stan Lee-
superstar in his own mind, right?
This Stan Lee thing, that's right out of like a million comics, like him meeting Stan. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
It just was cool that they did it, because like Stan Lee narrated the old 80s Spider-Man cartoon, and you know, like when I grew up, every comic I read said Stan Lee presents Transformers or whatever it was. I think they should bring that back. Like, it's kind of like a Walt Disney thing, right? Like Walt Disney presents, even though Walt Disney's been dead for 50 years or 60 years. I think they should bring that back, but whatever. Just an idea.
Yeah. And I also think that like seeing it today makes it a little bit more like
Poignant.
heartfelt, poignant.
Right.
Yeah. It
Right.
weirdly means a lot more having this cartoon end with like Stan meeting his creation and seeing them
Right.
interact with each other now that he's gone, and yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting ending. It's cheesy, but you know what isn't in the show. So
So what else can we say about this episode? I don't know.
You want to know what the proposed sixth season was going to have?
Yes,
Yeah.
let's talk about
Yeah.
that, Becca.
absolutely.
So Madam Web was going to take Spider-Man to 19th century London to find Mary Jane, who had amnesia.
Good.
And then he would have fought Carnage, who would have been revealed to be Jack the Ripper the whole time.
Yes. Yes.
And then,
So they were just gonna have Carnage just full on murdering people.
yeah.
Love that.
It looks like Mysterio would have been revealed to be alive. And he would be using a time dilation accelerator to rob banks.
Yep.
However, he'd accidentally go to another dimension and meet Dormammu, which then Spider-Man would team up with
course.
Ghost Rider to defeat Dormammu and
That
Mysterio.
would've been
That's
nice.
cool.
Ghost
The
Rider ever
Beetle?
show up? Yes, the Beatles.
Beetle was going to come back.
Oh, the Beetle.
Oh, the Beetle.
Yeah, because he was in the... Norman Osborn was going to return from Limbo and take over the Green Goblin from his son.
Right.
So take over the Green Goblin mantle. Richard Fisk was going to return as the masked criminal we all know and love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I would. Oh, that'd be great.
Since James Cameron's Spider-Man film was canceled, then they could have introduced Sandman was going to be a possibility.
Oh, nice.
Betty Brant was going to come in. An episode involving the villain Puma was written.
Oh no. I'm sure that would have been done very tastefully.
Oh
in
no!
a 90s
Just
cartoon.
The Hulk was going to appear. Jack-o'-lantern was going to come in. Miles Warren would have been returned as the Jackal.
Cool.
They wanted to do an updated version of Spider-Man with His Amazing Friends, which had an episode featuring Iceman and Firestar.
That's fun.
The creator said that they wanted to try to get Frank Weckler and Kathy Garver to reprise their roles from the original Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Oh, wow.
I would have lost my mind. Wow.
That's cool.
And that is all the information that has been released about the potential 6th season. There's some concept artwork of some characters, such as Betty Brant. It looks like they would have pulled from the Incredible Hulk series at the time was using Ghost Rider, so they would have just pulled his character design from there.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say how long he was going to be in 19th century London.
I think Ghost Rider was in some of the Marvel Action Hour shows too.
Might have been, yeah.
Like I think I kind of remember him showing up in an Avengers show to fight, or maybe it was Fantastic Four. He completely defeated Galactus by himself. Like all of the superhero teams were all fighting Galactus and being destroyed, and then Ghost Rider shows up, just drives straight up his leg and does the death, like the soul stare, the penitence stare, and just defeats Galactus immediately.
Just does a sick wheelie.
Yeah.
It does say, when the Fantastic Four and Thor battled Galactus, the devoured worlds, to stop him from consuming his life energy, they were quickly defeated by Ghost Rider.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Rode his flaming motorcycle up the Galactus' the Devourer's leg.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
We are only
watch that.
Maximum 6 years away from seeing that in the MCU.
Yep.
Honestly, yeah.
Phase
so it looks
8.
That's
So,
cool.
Yeah, the executive producer, Avi Arad, and the head of Fox Kids, Margaret, whatever that is, got into an argument, and she had the series canceled. So it's all Avi Arad's fault.
Yeah, he's supposedly...
Like most things.
He's like a notorious dick, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Most of them are. Who's the other guy? Ike Perlmutter?
Yeah,
that's a Disney dick.
Yeah,
he's a Marvel dick. But now he's a Disney dick. But he
was a Disney dick who was involved in the Marvel. He was running the Marvel TV stuff for a while.
Okay.
He's the reason why Inhumans was a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And why none of the early Marvel shows were connected.
Had women.
Yeah.
Or there were women or minorities were in them.
Yeah.
Great guy.
That was all him. But yeah, so like it says John Semper Jr., who is the creative director, I think, for the show. This is all like his proposed ideas for season 6.
Nice. Yeah, his name was all over the credits. He wrote these episodes and was the execs on these. He was the exec and he wrote at least 2 of the ones we watched.
And so besides like the 19th century Jack the Ripper, the rest of the stuff it looks like probably could have pulled directly from comic books too, like the whole Rose saga, if they were going to introduce Ned Leeds and Betty Brant, so and Jack-o'-lantern, so like they could have done it because they never say who the Hobgoblin is, right?
I don't know if
in
they
this
do.
show.
I don't know. They might hint. I can't remember if they do.
I can't remember.
And
sometimes the show like meshes in my brain with the comics.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch all of it or no?
Yes, we should also mention we reviewed sporadic episodes from seasons 1 to 3.
Yeah,
we reviewed every episode of seasons 4 and 5. But yes, technically we've all the ones we don't review, we watch them anyway. So we've rewatched. How many is it? 65.
Close to it, yeah.
So you mentioned in the season 6 proposal Norman was going to come back. Harry what ends up as the Goblin in the
yes.
I don't remember.
For like an episode, his dad from another dimension is like convincing him to do it, and he's like kind of brainwashed for an episode. But I think it's only once he does it.
Oh, okay, I think I might remember that.
Yeah,
mention it. It's not like the sick, like spectacular.
Right. No. But yeah, I think it's the last season, the last 2 seasons, I think get a little bit choppy. and it's a mixed bag whether the arc's going to be good or bad.
Right.
I think that the first 3 seasons though are really great. I think that what is so successful about them is that they take famous arcs from the comics and then they kind of modernize them, and they also update them a little bit so that way they can improve on the story and make it their own and make it fit in with this arc that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like they're taking these really great stories and just like perfecting them, taking those flaws that you didn't see originally when they were making them, and then fixing that in this version. So the first 3 seasons, I think, are great.
They're streamlined. Like Venom is basically the accepted version of Venom's story.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
That's the problem. The original explanation for Venom is so convoluted, right?
Yeah,
you could never do that again in any adaptation.
Yeah, that is so strange, hey, that this is like what everybody remembers.
Yep.
And I think too, like that's pretty much what Spider-Man 3 took for the origins and everything.
Absolutely.
So
just like apparently Blade, like the supporting character.
This version.
Yeah, played by
Whistler.
Christopher
You're right.
Stockton
Whistler was big in this. Yeah.
I had no idea, right? So
Well, like this is the version that changed Blade from the comics too.
Right.
Yeah.
Because before the Blade movie came out, Blade in the comics is like a British guy with green pants, and then in the this show, they're like, what if he was in cool leathers?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So overall, okay, now let's rate this. Andrew, compare this cartoon to Batman the Animated Series and X-Men from the 90s. Where do you rate this one?
Well, that's tough. I mean, it's no Batman animated, but nothing is. So
right.
That's just not fair. I haven't watched X-Men in a while, but I do feel like Spider-Man holds up a little bit better.
Okay.
Maybe you're right. Like it does, at least from what I was seeing, like does sort of fall apart towards get a little messier towards the end. Mm-hmm. And X-Men I feel like X-Men's really good too though. You know, like
it's kind of hard to compare X-Men and Spider-Man because I feel like they're all in the same vein. Like all of these Marvel Action Hour ones are kind of like doing the same thing and like taking a lot of the stuff from the comics, and a lot of the same creators and writers are doing both. So they're on the same level. It's definitely like you were saying, it's definitely doesn't hold a candle to Batman the Animated Series.
Right.
But I think
they don't do these anymore. You know, like the last, I mean, I'll admit to not watching all of them anymore, but as far as I know, nobody's really attempting to do like long form storytelling with any of the superhero animated shows. Like Spectacular Spider-Man's amazing, but that was 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
That's one of the pitches when you read, I think, Spider-Man Unlimited. One of the other pitches was, we're just going to adapt the first 26 issues of Spider-Man, which would have been great, but they didn't do it, right?
No, they did not.
I'd love to see, as much as everyone loves 90s X-Men cartoon, I'd love to see like them adapt like the classic Uncanny X-Men 94 to whatever by Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum, then John Byrne, and like they usually do, fix it, but still do the same overall arc, cover the basic plot and keep it,
punch up the scripts a little.
Right. I'd love to see that, but they've never done it.
Well, DC has been doing a lot of that recently with all of their animated movies, though.
That is true.
Very popular storylines and adapt them to an animated movie, and they're almost all pretty good.
Yeah.
Some of them.
They're okay.
What's the last one they just did? Was it The Killing Joke? Bad.
Oh,
Killing Joke.
To be honest,
Killing Joke's terrible.
But some of them,
The Long
very
Halloween, good. Which is like my favorite Batman story.
It was
maybe
good.
I'm too precious to it because it wasn't bad, but like
a lot of the Wonder Woman stuff is good.
Yeah. I liked the first one a lot.
The Aquaman stuff is really good.
Really?
Aquaman, I think it's just Aquaman King of Atlantis.
I'm gonna have to catch up on all of these.
I'm trying to remember. One of the Green Lanterns was really good.
Yeah, unfortunately. Oh, the Green Lantern animated series is also
Yeah,
really good.
that was
Is it?
good.
Yeah, I watched
Yes.
like maybe one episode. I don't remember.
Harley Quinn is great, obviously, but
I actually, I
Yeah.
really like the Harley Quinn
Yeah.
TV show too.
Is this the
And-
new one?
But
yeah.
yes.
Okay, it's good.
Oh my
It's
god,
so
it's
good.
so good.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's so gay.
Yeah, it's super gay. It's so good. I just remembered I
But
have
it's-
like 5 episodes to watch. So.
Definitely a different vibe for sure. It's definitely an adult cartoon.
Yeah.
Which comparing it to like something that I watched as a kid, like the Teen Titans cartoon, which actually like was genuinely very well written and told us a continuous story and stuff, was a lot of it. It's very different than Harley Quinn, which is still a good story, but like
Oh, Young Justice. Young Justice is good. I mean, I haven't
Young
seen
Justice, the first 2 seasons.
I haven't seen any of it since it came back.
I was gonna
I
say,
haven't seen stuff
It's
since
really
it came
hard
Yeah,
to get
came
a hold of in Canada.
yeah.
back. But those first 2 seasons, last episode of Young Justice broke my like so many of these comic book cartoons have made me cry at a certain point.
Yeah. And so many of these are Greg Weisman too, like Gargoyles, Spectacular Spider-Man, Young Justice. These are all Greg Weisman. And he's fucking great.
I didn't know the connection. Okay, but here's the thing. We could talk about this all night, but unfortunately we have to wrap up this episode.
All right.
I'd like to thank Andrew for joining us for his 7th and final time. You do
So
hold the
sad.
record, but we are
I
going to
guess you're not coming back.
Yeah, we're wrapping up this podcast
Well, we
in
only
4
have
weeks,
like
so
3-4 episodes. Yeah.
sorry, Andrew.
Yeah.
That's okay. I already knew this was my last episode
Yeah.
because you were like, we want to work you in one last time. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, and you do have the record. 7 times is the record holder, so
Right on.
congratulations. Yeah.
Thank
you
you.
for joining us.
Mhm.
Thank you for having me.
And guess what? We are going to be starting a few new podcasts, so we'll be sure to contact you about guest starring on those as well.
Of course.
And just so everybody knows, be sure to join us in 2 weeks for when we get back to reviewing the Spidey comics. We're going to be doing December, then mid-December, then January. So be sure to join us for all those. They'll all be Acts of Vengeance tie-ins. You guys remember that great crossover? But before we do that, next week we are finally going to be reviewing Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire.
Oh, thank God.
In which Peter Parker goes emo. It's going to be so much
It's
fun.
So much worse than you remember it being if you
I
haven't
hope
watched
so,
it recently.
Yes. It's going to be a special one. And we're going to be joined by special guest Dan McDonald from 93.9 The River. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yes.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I love Dan.
Yeah, he's great.
Have I met Dan? I don't think I've met Dan.
I don't think you've met Dan, but he did watch, I think, 66 movies during WIF this year, so you know he's cool.
He's very
Anyway.
cool. He was
No.
in one of my movies.
Oh, he was
Oh,
really. That's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, he was in Last Week Tell.
Wait, well, yeah, maybe you could, if we can figure out how to run a clip during the show, that'd be great. But anyway,
Run a clip of the movie. I mean,
I think he would. I don't know if he wants that.
we've embarrassed people before. Why not one more time? Anyway, okay.
I embarrass myself every week.
Exactly. Thank you, Bex Luthor, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Woo! And we'll see you next time for sure. And Josh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. You can find us over at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. We've got all of our podcasts and videos up there. You can also leave us a review or a comment on any of our stuff on Facebook. We're no longer on Twitter, I guess, right?
That's right.
Okay,
No
so
way.
find us over on Facebook and let us know what you guys think about the podcast and the comics and the shows and movies we're talking about. We want to keep that conversation going.
That's right. So until next Monday, Spider Friends, go for it!